Do you ever meet somebody and you just want to go back in time and whoop their parents' ass on their behalf? Or even, honestly, there's a few people where if they just said, hey, Timothy, today's the day. It's cool. I'm gonna fucking I know what to do. I'm going to break into your parents' house. I'm gonna coat the floor in baby oil and I'm gonna put hot grits on that motherfucking stove with a nice hot skillet frying up some bacon grease. And then when your parent walks in and busts their ass on that sloppy, wet, fucking hookup hot shot bucket level sticky ass floor, I am gonna come in and make a breakfast buffet out of their ass, served hot and ready. They are gonna be screaming and howling, and no one's gonna come to help because, like, fuck it, no one came to help when you were a kid. Why would someone help them out? I remember I really liked my Christmas fling that I dealt with last winter. Obviously, that's when Christmas happens. But still, I remember I told him the terrible shit my mother did. Like, for example, here's something. I forget if I've talked about it. When I was like 10 or so, I was like maybe 9, like fourth grade. I remember I was in my kitchen for whatever fucking reason, just sitting on the floor. And I remember, or at least, yeah, I remember this little baby named Caden. He was so small, he wasn't even a year old. He was literally in the newborn stage. He was literally so, he might have been mentally disabled, but he was an infant. He could just barely crawl, and she managed to be on the phone and in her bedroom. My mom ran a daycare, aka had a bunch of kids over that she'd get money for taking care over. Look, allegedly taken care of in her Section 8 ass house. And she was in the back talking on the phone and bullshitting for so long that the baby physically crawled itself from the living room all the way to the kitchen, all the way to the back door. Now, mind you, it's a baby that can't even stand, can hardly even lift its head up. It's not able to open the door whatsoever. And she walked out and she saw the baby near the back door in the kitchen. And instead of holding herself accountable, like, oh, okay, I was in there way too long. How'd you move so fast? And it's a huge kitchen, so she, like, it took a while for that fucking baby to move. To get to the fucked up part, she decides to look down at this baby and she says, didn't I tell you not to fucking move and come to the back doors? Didn't I tell you not to move? Didn't I say not to come back here? And this baby, it's a fucking infant, so it just barely lifts its head up to look at her, and it coos. And she picks up the child in one hand. And to pause this story, I want you to picture how much force you would use if you were to, like, let's say, need to slap the shit out of like a bodybuilder or a linebacker or like some, like the Hulk, like that amount of force. Like if you were really trying to punish someone who was built like a tank. Now, I want you to picture someone lifting up a toddler like it's a football in one hand, one single hand, a tiny light baby, and smacking it so hard with that exact same amount of force repeatedly on its legs, its back, its spine, its backside. And it was terrible and it was traumatic. I still disgustingly remember the way that baby screamed, and it was disgusting and it's still burned into my head almost 2 decades later. And she's an evil bitch. Happy 4 years estrangement. She has it coming. She is not a good woman by any means. And I remember I told that story to my Christmas fling. And I think he was one of the first people I ever told that story to because it was severe. And he didn't know what to say. I think it came up because we were talking about, like, we were just in the love bombing stage. Me and him were talking about, like, how we would want to raise future kids if we had them separately or together if we went that path. And he was pro homeschool, I was anti homeschool. He said, well, it doesn't have to just be you, it'd be other people in your community. They can look after the kid. And I'd say, I wouldn't trust that. And then he was like, why? And I told him about how my mother was seen as the community lady to take care of all the kids and be trusted with them, and I saw firsthand how that went, and I told him that story, so long as well as plenty of others, and it stuck with him, and it really did. And at some point, me and him during our Christmas week together, it was a very lovely week. Even though it had a lot of bad, it also had a lot of good. I cherish it regardless, even though he's a disgusting cunt. But man, there's worse people I've met in this lifetime. I remember he sat there and told me that he would fucking kill my mother. Like, if he ever met her, he would fucking kill her because someone like that doesn't deserve the right to live. He was sobbing his eyes out in tears, keeled over because he was so distraught about how someone could fucking do that to anybody, to any child, but especially an infant. and how that type of shit sticks with you, like stresses you out. Like it, who knows how that baby is to this day? Maybe it's a healthy functioning child, maybe it's not. But the stuff that happens to you when you're really young, it has an imprint on you, and it fucks you up in the head, and it makes me want to cry every fucking time I think about that. Because whenever I meet someone where it's like they still have deep rooted fear of shame, and so they're a people pleaser and they overcompensate, but deep down they're afraid to get abandoned or embarrassed or to have someone disappointed in them because they had a fucked up upbringing, I want to beat their parents' ass. Because it's like, I'll put it this way, sometimes I'll meet a man and it's like, wow, this man could have been my future husband, but nope, nope, you just had to damage him. I'm just saying, it's so fucking frustrating because it's like, wow. I'll put it like, I'll meet someone who's, it's like, I'll put it this way, it's like, oh wow, like Mitchell, the Christmas fling. He himself, I would have loved that man. I would have. I can tell we would have gotten along very great. But no, because his dad had to be fucking abusive and slap the shit out of his kids and be drunk all the time and do all these weird psychological mind games and cheat on his mother, and the mother stayed, and the mother was also a psycho, and they never showed him healthy examples of love. That's why he is now fucking 29 years old and he has almost everything someone could possibly want in their life except mental stability and the belief that he can truly be loved. So now he's got that weird thing where he's afraid someone will abandon him, but then he also does, like, he has a fear of commitment, and it just, that shit annoys me. It annoys me so much. I remember my ex Liam, his brother told me about how he was afraid of marriage, and like because he saw how many times his mom got married, got a divorce, got married, got a divorce, got married, got a divorce, and all of those times like fucked him up in the head, but especially because she picked terrible men but they had money, and then she didn't have conflict skills, and the dudes usually weren't the best, and so, and next thing you know, it's like you have to witness screaming matches and custody battles and screaming matches and threats and who's going to pay for your college and just overwhelm all the time. He never knew when his life was going to get disrupted. So now he has a fear of marriage because he thinks to himself, I don't want to make a mistake like they did. But then ironically, it's fucked up several of his relationships because then he's dated women for like long times, 3 years, 8 years, and then still said, I don't believe in marriage. And even if you do want to get married, we can wait like what, 3 more years? You can wait. And then the women go, no, I'm not waiting until I'm like fucking 36 for you to decide if you think I'm wifey or not. And then the women leave and then they get married in under a year to a lovely man and they have kids. And then he gets to be depressed about it and resentful and all that shit. But it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I'll put it this way, it is still on the fucking responsibilities of the adult to handle their issues 100%. Like at some point it does, like it's one of those things where it's like, I'm sorry you were put in those conditions, but it's not anyone's responsibility but your own for your own healing. You didn't cause the damage, but it's your responsibility to fix it as much as you can. Otherwise we'll be like, for example, my mom got a gun fucking flashed on her by her own mother when she was 4, and her mom said to her, you ain't shit and you ain't never gonna be shit, just like I ain't shit. And the only reason she didn't shoot my mom is because she passed out from the crack. And that fucked with my mom for the rest of her fucking life, and it still fucks her up. I remember I beat my grandma's ass at some point. She had it coming. It's a long story. She tried to attack me first. That bitch ended up on the floor, as she should be. Why would you try to fight people and you know your bones are shaky? Stupid ass bitch. My mom was happy as fuck when that happened. Her inner child got healed. It's like, but it's one of those things where it's like, I would have preferred you just never invited her into our life because of your childhood issues. I would have preferred if you just cut her off at some point, and like, and then also if you like, I like people in my mom's life, they try to excuse her behavior by saying there's no books on parenting. Those are stupid motherfuckers because they just don't know how to read in general. They're just mentally deficient. I don't know how to explain it. I'm trying not to say the R word, but it's like, yeah, nigga, you just don't read books. If you went into a bookstore at any point, you would see that there's actually millions of books on parenting. You know? Millions. Billions, actually. It's a huge industry. There's even movies on parenting. Kids can be little shits, but it's like there's a limit on what you should do to them. Not everything needs to involve screaming, yelling, and popping the belt. But not everyone's fucking smart. And then they wonder why their kids and their grandkids and generations after them and their descendants are fucked up. Like, yeah, nigga, you started it. Like, I'll put it this way, just because they started it doesn't mean you have to continue it, though. So that's why I try my best to work on myself. Because if I have kids, and I'm pretty sure I will, I want them to be as happy and healthy as possible. And on top of that, I'm just saying, it makes me so sad to just know that it's like there's people out there, it's like they could have had so much potential and like loved themselves and had self-worth and self-happiness and more, but like no, because when they were 4 or when they were 2 or something happened deep in their brain to just permanently make them feel useless. A friend of mine told me a story that their grandmother told them, and their grandmother, it took her like 70 years to finally process, like, when she was like 4 or so, she was singing a song, and I guess she was singing it a little bit too loud, so her father, who was in the bathroom and was shaving, when she came up and said, "Daddy, I have a song for you, apples in the farm tree," like, his asshole self, he comes up to this little girl and he says, "Shut the fuck up," and he slashes his blade across the face, and it gets a huge scar from eye to lip on this little girl. And then her whole life, she just thought to herself, "Oh, I must have just been not a good singer. Guess I won't sing again." And it stuck with her, and she had shitty, and because it just fucked with her, it's like that's your earliest experience. You were not shown how it is to have a loving family that tucks you in at night and cares for you and cares about your goals and dreams. None of that. So, and it took her until she was like 70 to actually be like, looking back, I don't know why he would do that to a child. Because if I heard my child singing, even if it was bad, I'd be happy. Or I would just tell them to be quiet. I wouldn't slash them across the face. And it breaks my heart. This woman went her whole life just thinking, wow, I must have just been a terrible singer and I had it coming. And it most likely trickled into her how she views herself, how she views her dating life, all sorts of things. I think someone should have taken that man out to a fucking back alley and shot him like Old Yeller. And if you're like, to me, that's a little harsh. Yeah, but he was harsh too. You maimed a child for something harmless. You could have just said, "Shut the fuck up," and it would have been miles ahead. You maimed her. Like Jigsaw. I don't like people. Anyway, shout out to fucking boomers and motherfucking Gen Xers and shit for ruining all my potential husbands and my friends. When I catch you, you'll be sorry. This is your sign. Like, beat your. Like, if you have a chance, like, if you find out shit about your friend's parents, and you got a shiesty or a ski mask and some free time, and you catch them lacking outside their job, I'm just saying, you should do to them what they did to your friend all those years before. Traumatize the fuck out of them. Peace out.